lovely Jessica Canter here, and I just have a few words about her and her background for y'all to have some context. So Jessica received her JD from the University of New Hampshire in 2014, very recently. Made notice that she's a chief PD now, and she also has a BA in political science from UT at San Antonio. Is that your native town?
No, Austin.
Okay, cool.
North Austin.
And then during law school, Jessica interned with the Federal Public Defender in San Antonio and the Harris County DA. And currently, as I mentioned, Jessica is the Chief Public Defender at the Lavaca County Public Defender, a couple hours from here, southwest? Southeast. And before that, for about 2 years, Jessica was the first assistant public defender with the B County Regional Public Defender, which is under TRALA, or Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, for those people who don't know them. And so that public defender was formed in 2009 with the support of a TADC discretionary grant. And so TRALA now has public defense in many counties, and in 2017, TIDC chose the B County Regional Defender for their Texas Gideon Recognition Award for their excellence in indigent defense. And so it's just a quick quote from the press release, because I think it shows really what they've done. So the B County Public Defender helped ensure that all eligible defendants have access to legal representation. Prior to its inception, B, Live Oak, and McMullen counties were among the 110 counties in Texas with misdemeanor employment rates below 10%, and the county struggled to find enough attorneys to represent indigent defendants. Now, staff investigators actively monitor jail populations, provide intake support at jails and dockets, streamline applications for counsel, and eligibility and appointment rates are in line with or above state averages. So that's fantastic. And so let's start with kind of general question. Why did you want to become a public defender, and why in the rural area?
So I originally did not want to do any criminal law when I went to law school. Like, I was the sort of person, I'm a bleeding heart, I'm very empathetic. So my school was known for their public defender clinic. We had the criminal clinic. And my first year was like, I couldn't sit next to a murderer. I couldn't sit next to a pedophile. I mean, I was like pro-victim, very prosecution. But I didn't even like criminal law. But I ended up interning with Catholic Charities here in Austin, doing immigration, and I had an experience with a client in a detention center out in Houston that changed my entire career. Long story short, we had a visa. We couldn't get him the visa because he was in custody, because his defense attorney didn't tell him that if he pled guilty and took a year, that triggered immigration deportation. And so that changed everything for me. And I was like, why are there, pardon my French, but like shitty defense attorneys out there, right? So that's pretty much what happened. But I do it, and when I think back on that experience, it's for my clients. It's not just to fight the system. It's not, just to make sure that the government is following their laws, right, and not screwing over my clients, but it's to tell my clients' stories. I think that that's really, really important, and it's what keeps me doing this. As far as rural jurisdictions, I kind of just bleed public defense. So when I came back to Texas, I didn't care where I was practicing. I just wanted to be a public defender. So, and if that meant it put me down in Beeville, Texas, which is not the prettiest, 3 hours, it's 3 hours south of here. So, again, my family's up in North Austin. My now husband, he was still in Seguin, so we were doing long distance. But that's what I wanted to do. That, I made a lot of sacrifices to do it. And the more I do it, the more I realize I want to stay in these smaller jurisdictions, because they really don't have the representation. Like, these people deserve great representation just as much as people in Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio do. I've seen it firsthand where court wouldn't start till 10 or 11 in the morning because all the lawyers were coming in from Corpus, so they take care of all their cases there. Or they weren't visiting because, the payment schedule was terrible, fees, so it's just a letter. it not only, it hurt the clients, but it also kind of just hurt the system in general, in a way that, again, still hurt our clients. So, you know, I'm not pro-government by any means, but, we're kind of there to also help make sure court moves. Because when court moves, our clients' lives can, continue. A lot of them don't like these constant resets. I know some defense attorneys are like, oh, the longer we reset it, maybe we'll get a dismissal. But when you really sit down with your clients, you find out, no, they just wanna get it over with. They just wanna go to trial. They just wanna plead. They have their lives outside of the system that's already crapping on them, that when you are constantly pushing it off, in the end, you're hurting them, their job, and their family, ultimately.
It's such a good point, because usually you hear about better public defense slowing the system, but it can actually speed it up.
It can speed it up, absolutely. I
Yeah.
file a lot of motions for speedy trial. The county I'm in now, they have in county court maybe 4 trial settings over the entire year. And I have more than, I mean, I'm ready already. We've been waiting 6 months on one, so we're about to, I'm gonna go talk to the county judge and be like, no, we need more trial settings. You know, my clients kinda like, and the longer you put it off, the sometimes clients are like, well, all right, I'll just plead. But, no, you know, don't do that just because of the system, so.
Yeah, that's great. And so, what would you consider the greatest sort of practice-related challenges that you tend to face because of the rural nature?
Working with the same prosecutor over and over and over again. I don't think it's discussed, and it certainly wasn't when I started. But you know, you have this attitude, it's burn every bridge, fight for that one client, but as a public defender, you know, at one point I had 200 felonies in my name. And those are active, open cases. Those are cases I'm actively working on or going to court for or have court. So, they don't really teach you how to work with that many cases with one person. So for example, I just recently upset my prosecutor in the county I'm in. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, which technically hurt I need offers. I have court tomorrow. I still have no offers. You know, he's, I think, finally coming down. There's a cooling off period. But you can't just go to the prosecutor, upset them about one case, and then be like, all right, let's talk about case number 2. There's more politics involved than I think I realized when I first started in a small jurisdiction. And that includes even with the judges. It's, you know, my judges in my jurisdictions, they travel because of how big the jurisdiction is.
I don't think those words stick, but.
No, so both of the judges I practice in front of in district court are actually, they're housed in Seguin in Guadalupe County. But they travel like I do to Lavaca. And they rotate. So every month I see a different judge. B County, I practiced in front of 3 different judges, but they all sat for like each other. But they were all stationed in a city an hour away, and they also drove from county to county like we did. But that is something definitely to consider, and it is still a challenge that even, you know, 5 years now, I'm still learning, and especially now that I'm in a new county, learning to deal with a brand new prosecutor. The prosecutors in my other counties I came from, we go to lunch every now and then, you know, and we had a relationship where they trusted me and I trusted them, especially with discovery and open files. While, for example, I know an attorney out in Houston who won't get into the elevator if there's prosecutors, right? So I see some people nodding. And that's okay if that's the way you want to practice. For me, that's not going to work where I'm at. It's just not. And at the end, I feel like I'm hurting my clients. I don't plan on ever being friends with this prosecutor. Being recorded. I mean, he's not exactly my favorite person, but I think there's some sort of mutual respect that he knows I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do it damn well, and I'm going to put his feet to the fire. But at the same time, I'm also not being an asshole about it. Sorry, I cuss a lot. You know, unless I absolutely have to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it seems kind of like you're just balancing as strong of an advocate as you can be with still having them like you and to see you day to day.
Yeah, and not even, I mean,
Or not.
like, yeah, at least respect
Yeah.
in some way. Yeah, again, we're not gonna ever be friends, this prosecutor and I. But in court, I expect that our working relationship, is going to be enough that my offers are going to be fair compared to the other defense attorneys, that he's not gonna punish my clients just because I made him upset on one, or even, private lawyers. I keep a close eye on similar cases and fact patterns to mine to see what offers are being handed out. Are those people being favored because they're being paid? Or as a woman, it's a male lawyer, it's a male attorney. What sort of offers is he giving them over? And I have seen that before in small counties.
So just, it's sort of like a personal, less of like legal arguments, more favored.
Yes. Yes.
And so on the flip side, what are the greatest rewards of working in the area?
My clients.
Yeah.
Some of them, I don't get along with all of them. You're never going to. But I've had a lot of great, just in this 1 year, just the thanks. I've received thanks just for listening. So I had a case that didn't go well at all for my client. But at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, he thanked me just for listening. He said, I've been the first person in 30 years of his big criminal history just to listen, to let him rant and ramble and talk about his life. But also the community. I really enjoy, I'm starting to get to know this community more. And I work right by Shiner, so that's awesome, you know? And I think that this community is really great, and the county judge there really wants to do right. So I think that the people in these small communities can be wonderful once you get to know them, and they get to know you.
Because I imagine there's, it's small where you know people, you might even be slightly more invested in making the system better because it's more immediate.
Yes.
And then you mentioned to me that sometimes you get new hires who don't last very long. So I was wondering why you thought that was. What happens?
Okay, so in our jurisdictions, I'll reference my time out in B County. We had, at the time I started, only 3 counties, but we drove. So the farthest court from me was about an hour away. The next farthest was 30 minutes, and then I actually lived in Beeville at the time. We were understaffed. It was just 3 lawyers. So when I first started, my first month there, I got thrown into district court right away. My chief couldn't, chief caseload. I mean, you just have to do what you have to do. So we hired someone after myself and another attorney, and she lasted maybe 6 months. There wasn't enough coffee shops, for example. There wasn't much to do. There's no nice movie theater. You're out in the boonies. There's a lot of sacrifice. And she wanted to be with her family, and that's wonderful, but that's part of it. I don't know if when you apply to these smaller counties, if people really realize how difficult and isolating it can be. And especially if you don't have family or friends out in those little counties, you go home every day and it's like, weekends. I don't think I spent many weekends, truthfully, in Beeville when I lived there all 4 years. I was always in Seguin or Austin. But that's definitely something, is a lot of people miss the city life.
So we touched a bit on kind of how you do the relationship with the district attorneys in your area. I was wondering if you could further compare the relationship in your county to your other experiences in Texas. So either when you were in Houston or in San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, San Antonio is not going to be a great example because when I interned there, we were furloughed. So there wasn't, I interned at a terrible time. I learned a lot, but there wasn't much work, and we weren't really in federal court. You're not really in court all that often, truthfully. Harris County, I unfortunately interned as a prosecutor. Just to see that other life and what they do in that world, I think that's really important. I knew instantly it wasn't for me. But the relationship that I saw with other defense attorneys, sometimes they were friendly and sometimes. But there's so many courts in this one courthouse that you could really, you go in for one and then you're in the elevator going to another, that there's really no time to even work with a prosecutor. Or if you do upset them, it's okay, you're not gonna see them again for a few months, they'll probably forget you, the caseload is so busy out there. All of my jurisdictions, the defense attorneys there, I mean, there's one prosecutor in particular I'm thinking about, he was collegial with everyone. I mean, it wasn't a problem. Even when you told him he was wrong, or you were fighting for a dismissal, at the end of the day, he didn't hold it personally against you. You're doing your job. He's doing his job. We're doing ours. So I have noticed that difference in the bigger cities, that I think it's harder, truthfully, to get to know the prosecutors. I've also heard that in one county, the prosecutors are told essentially not to even associate with defense attorneys, especially during work hours. It's like this, right? It's very competitive, but you're hanging out with the enemy. And that's here in Texas. That happens in Texas. And as I learned at a conference last week, I think that happens in a lot of states in the U.S.
I think here in Austin, seems to have a mixed statute, but I think it's one of the friendlier spots, but we don't have to go right now.
Yeah, I know all about those politics. What's going on here?
Awesome. And then maybe we could talk for a bit about the mental health program and your involvement in it. And so, according to a TIDC report, the B County Mental Health Public Defender, I guess you weren't at that point, but it's part of it, yours. It's unique in Texas because it employs a supported decision-making tool, or rather, it uses psychiatric advance directives, which are legal documents written by a currently competent person who lives with a mental illness, making sort of a future decision. And I guess the idea is there that you're more client-centered. And so how did this unique feature of your previous office make a difference to your clients, insofar as you saw, because you said it was very new, and yeah, comparing it to other mental health duties?
So that started 1.5 to 2 years ago. I haven't seen too much yet, and again, I left, but I think that the research is going to show, and we're collecting the data on it, how many times is this same person arrested, how many times are they going through our system, because of, I can peg the first time I meet a client how many times that are going to be a repeat client. And especially out in these counties, there's no resources. There's none, and if there are, they're 45 minutes to an hour away. Our clients don't have the resources. I mean, sometimes they walk to court, or my investigator and I, we've offered to pick people up, or when they're released from the jail with no one being notified, we'll go and drop them off. It's terrible, but I think that we're going to see a positive influence with this. One thing that I think is important with these advanced directives, though, is to educate the community, and that's including your police officers, that's including the county judge, that's including everyone, because it's no good if this person has this, here's how to work with me, and the police are still going to go, they don't understand, they're going to react the same way. So, I was there when we applied for the grant with TIDC. I know the mental health attorney in charge of it. We have a peer specialist down in the Beeville office, and he's wonderful. He actually went to prison for possession and delivery of meth. Long time. Has some mental health issues himself, and he's been a huge asset to my clients, because they can call at any time and say, hey, I think I need to use, and he's right there. And he can sit there and be like, I've done this, I've gone down this path, let's work together. So he's been a huge asset to my clients.
That's fantastic. And mentioning sort of having staff, whether attorney or not, with a criminal history, I've heard generally you would assume that public defender offices were kind of open to having employees like that. Is that something, how do you look at that as potentially hiring someone? And then we can segue into kind of what qualities and experiences you look for when you look for employees or interns.
I don't mind. I don't think that a criminal history, just kind of like I tell the judges, this one charge does not define my client. This could have been the worst day of their life, and they're here in court for a year on this. And I think too, there's a lot of benefit. I notice even with myself, I'm on antidepressants. Just speaking to a client who's like, I don't want to take these meds. It's like, well, I'm a lawyer and I do it. And here, let me tell you about it. You can really connect more with your clients, especially if you're trying to be client-centered. So, criminal histories, yes, it does depend, right? And what changes have they made to better themselves, or, you know, not let their criminal history define them, but I don't mind. As far as what I look for when I'm hiring, passion, for sure, and a willingness to try. I've found that some of the newer lawyers that I've spoken to, and again, I know I'm not much older than y'all, I know that, you know, I've only been practicing 5 years, but there seems to already be a difference in, they're almost too afraid to try. And I get it. I have my new lawyer right now. She's waiting on her bar results. She's been such an asset to my team. One thing that I really appreciated about her was, hey, I'm lacking in the trial skills. I'm afraid of court, but I'm gonna try. And that was really important to me. Like, I'm gonna be right there with you. I'm gonna be standing behind you. I'm gonna be there. But the fact that she said, this is what I'm lacking in, and while I don't have the skills, and while that terrifies me, I had a hearing recently, a juvenile detention hearing, that was very highly contested, and she said, let me do it. And that just, that really does go a long way with your supervisors, with your clients. So I look for that. It's not just, I don't look at grades. I've never been asked what my grades were in law school. I've never been asked how many points I passed the bar exam by. Probably a good thing. But I do look for, what are your communication skills like? I will ask, why do you want to be a public defender? I will also ask a question like, okay, you're sitting next to your client who's been charged with sexual assault of a child. He tells you he's done it. He's going to do it again. Can you do it? What if you get him off on a technicality? And that's happened. I mean, I've won cases where we've won because of a technicality. How does that make you feel? Some people are going to be like, wait a second. I can't do that. He's told you he will probably do it again. But that's not my job. He said probably.
Still, yeah. That comes up a lot, and I mean, if you can screen somebody during an interview, better than.
Yes. Yeah. We've had people leave being like, you know what, never mind. I can't do this. One other, you and I were speaking about earlier, I think it's important to, something new I've noticed is the newer lawyers wanting to save every client. We don't do what's in our client's best interest. We do what they want. And we were talking about Gideon's Promise out in Atlanta, and John Rapping, the founder, says the same thing. And I think that's something to really remember. Right now, as an example, in another office, and we have several within Trala, a client wants out of jail. He suffers from terrible mental illnesses. He's in jail for assault, family violence, so his mom does not want him home. Lawyer says he needs to be hospitalized. Well, the client wants out. So you can speak to him, obviously, okay? Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Let's try to plan this out. But it's not your job to convince him no. And I'm working with that on my investigator too. She used to be a nurse. She still is a nurse, and she has that problem that I'm working with. It's constantly, well, we need to get him X, Y, Z, and it's like, client doesn't want to go to the hospital. I don't get to ask. I ask for what they want, even if it's not in their best interest. So that's something too when you're applying, just to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Unless you are, again, with the mental health team, I think that they can kind of get away with a little more than that. Well, I can't.
So would you say that this sort of, client autonomy always first, is this sort of what we would think is best interest? You say that, will that apply equally throughout the office, or a little bit, would you say that a little bit less for like the social workers, or?
I think a little less for social workers, because they're gonna be more, I'm hoping my county, I'm gonna work with my county judge on applying for a social worker. They're invaluable. They can do things that I can't, or I don't have time for. And not that I don't wanna help my clients in that way, I just can't with as many clients. But I think that social workers, they're gonna have a different relationship as well. I think defense lawyers, you often see we're there in court, and then when they're done with court, that's about it. That's as far as I can go, especially in helping. I have to be appointed for one, and once the case is done. Now my office in Lavaca, we're trying something a little different. Our caseload isn't as crazy as it used to be in B, so I am there more for my clients. The lower your caseload, the easier it is to do. But Yeah, I don't think, I think it applies almost across the board. I feel like social workers probably have more leeway as far as, but I think the advanced directives are the same thing. If the client doesn't wanna take their meds, the advanced directive says, okay, don't make them take their meds. So there is a lot, I think that there are similarities like that.
So you mentioned that you love trial, and so how did you get great at it, and what do you love about it? What would you recommend to us?
Not great at it. I like to think I am, right? You can always do better than your best. That's just who I think I am. I want to go to acting school and obviously couldn't get a career. So trial really is a lot like being in theater, and I'm all about, I speak at CLEs on storytelling for your clients and how to get the jury interested. Practice though, and go watch. I used to watch a lot. See what those other defense attorneys are doing well that you like, that you can steal, or doing things that you don't want to steal. You know, I'm part of the Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, and I would ask, hey, can I be your second? Hey, can I just come watch it? Do you need any help? But I think for trial, it's practice. You can't always get it from a book, and thinking on your feet. I would say there's hearings I'm completely BSing because I'm learning something new, or even one of my mentors who's been practicing almost 20 years. You're always coming across something new. So doing your best to put your fear aside is going to be very helpful. Like practice, and I'm only like an hour and a half, 2 hours away from y'all. So I'm always be happy to have anyone to join, to help, whatever. You know, and I live down in Seguin, that's an hour, and I know the district judge is there, and I know some lawyers there, so I'm happy to help. But being in the courtroom, that's where you're gonna learn, not sitting behind your desk.
Would you recommend, like, when you, because you jumped in, you said immediately you had felonies and lots of them, is that a good way to just jump in, or would you wish you had a little more?
I wish I had a little more training. So when I was still learning Texas law from New Hampshire, and New Hampshire does things very differently, especially like with bail hearings. Like we don't do that here in Texas. You know, people are just given a bond without any representation. While in New Hampshire, that's not how it works. So I think with my office, and I have spoken to the chief and my mentor there about more training. I think training is very important. It's not everyone's style to just be pushed into the deep end and learn. And I think making that clear with your supervisor, hey, or whomever, hey, I want to do this, I want to help, but I'm going to need some floaties, and that's okay. I still need floaties, whatever you want to call them, or just back up. Yeah. But I know it's difficult. I was in a rare situation too. You know, we were short-staffed. We've been short-staffed for years. We're still short-staffed. I think in your bigger counties, you'll start in misdemeanors no matter, you know, your bigger counties, like Dallas PD. But I also know you're thrown in there too with 300, I've heard it's about 300 to 400 cases for each lawyer up in Dallas County. Yeah, I thought I had a lot.
I have a few more questions, but I'm happy to open it up if anybody has any questions at this point.
Yeah, you mentioned the relationship between yourself and the prosecutor. What about the relationship between yourself and the judges there? Do you play poker with them? Does the prosecutor play poker with them?
I do. So I'm in a very interesting position too. So Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid is primarily civil. We have a newer public defender division. Again, it started in Beeville, started in 2009, but we've had offices out in Del Rio and down in Willacy County on the border for a very long time. So I'm actually on a contract. So TIDC funds part of my office, and the county funds part. So keeping your county judge happy can be important, or my entire staff loses their jobs and my clients no longer have lawyers. It's easier with the county judge though, because they want you there. So my current county judge, he doesn't think anyone should be in jail until they plead guilty. He wants his jail empty. And that's what I'm there to do. I'm there to monitor the jail. I was just looking at the jail log this morning. Who's in there? Who's new? Who do I need to send? And he wants to see cases move. Be that motions filed, trial, anything. He just wants the system to work the way it's supposed to. The district judges are the ones who typically give us the most problems. They wanna control everything, and I happily get to say, well, you don't sign the contract, you know? But I do unfortunately have to play, but I will never, ever let that get in the way of needing to do something for a client. So I've heard last week at this conference, someone said that a judge was like, well, you can't file these sort of motions in my court anymore. And the lawyer said, okay. I'm not gonna do that. And my judges out in this new county know that. And I have challenged them. I'm fighting attorney's fees right now. And one of the judges is very angry with me, and I'm fighting court costs because I absolutely hate court costs. And I just smiled and said, just doing my job. You know, if we have to appeal, we have to appeal. It is what it is. But there's definitely politics as well. Yeah.
What are you running into with attorney's fees since you're working out of a PD's office? Like, what's the?
So, yeah, it's a mess. So
are you fighting for the assigned counsel people to get?
So right now in the county I'm in now, what they were doing is assessing $600 flat for every indigent person to pay their court-appointed lawyer, which to me is outrageous because one, I can move a case. I had a felony I moved in 30 minutes. The guy wanted to, we did everything. It was a motion revoked, and the judge was like, $600. I was like, I'm not worth $600 for 30 minutes. Well, your other clients, you know, what they don't pay, you know, this guy will. And I was like, I'm objecting to all of this. What the new law says too is with PDs, you can ask for attorney's fees, but it has to be a different sort of schedule. It's not what you would do other court-appointed lawyers. But it also says you have to have a hearing. Do they have the ability to pay? The ability to pay hearing. My judges, we're on this new county, we're not doing that. So I would object. And you don't even have to object to preserve the record, thankfully. So one district judge, when I say, hey, probation's assessing $600, she's like, we have a public defender office, what are you doing? And she'll cross it out. My other judge, on the other hand, wants his money. The county judge says, I don't need that money. So he's been waiving them reluctantly, like grinding his teeth. He has not waived court costs yet. I'm only fighting attorney's fees. You gotta balance it. So I'm fighting the $600. While in county court, I do an ability to pay an affidavit saying I'm indigent, a second one, and my county judge waives all court costs. He doesn't assess attorney's fees, he waives court costs, we just pay the fine. Which I don't always fight, because I think that's kind of part of the plea bargain, but a judge has the discretion as well to be like, you know, no fine. But the PD office is different. The counties I came from, we noticed they'll kind of just randomly pick a case and assess, and they'll be like, how many hours did you work? I didn't know you were gonna do this. But they do the hearing, so it's harder to object. You know, and sometimes my client statuses do change. They're no longer indigent sometimes, the case is that long by the time we get up there. Or they have a new job, they're being paid sometimes more than me. I don't get to fight, right? But it is a problem, and I'm noticing judges don't, even when I gave that other district judge the law, he looked me in the eye and said, okay, I'm still gonna assess. They want their money. So, despite being the public defender's office.
So if you were queen of the Texas judicial system for a day, what changes would you like to see made that could be done sort of like quickly and easily? Well, quickly and easily, both there.
Fix the system, or quickly and easily like help my clients, or help in it?
Fix the system. What do you
Fix
think are
the
the biggest
system.
issues with the system that will prevent you from doing your job to the best of your ability?
Money for sure.
Okay. So
I really find when I please someone and I am trying to help them, I do some civil, not much, an occupational driver's license. That entire, it's a hot mess. So if they don't pay every ticket off that they have in the state of Texas, I cannot get them an occupational driver's license. If they don't get an SR-22, which is hundreds of dollars, they can't get an occupational. If they don't pay for a certified abstract. So what ends up happening is you get into this vicious cycle of, well, I need to work, I'm driving without a valid driver's license, I'm back in court, and I'm back in court. And then what DPS does is every conviction you get for driving while license invalid, they add to your suspension. and then they add to the money. I really think that that all needs to be revamped. As well as court costs and what they go to, fines. My prosecutors have been reasonable, so with fines, but the court costs can, on a felony, can be upwards of $500. And what they do is when you go to prison, they'll take it out. It's like 25% of your commissary or something, just because the counties want their money. And I think that has to do too with the way the state legislature funds things. So you're using criminal, defense to fund Texas, but the majority of people that you see in court are indigent. So you're really not even getting that money. There's not. Most of my clients, especially on motions to revoke and probation, they will be back in court because they haven't been able to pay. Probation is, I couldn't do probation. It's $60 a month, plus the UA, which can be anywhere from about 15, so you're already looking at 75. You have to pay for every course that you take, from the drug offender course to, my county, it's ridiculous, they assess 48 to 96 hours of community service, depending on the case, so you're losing money again. It's times that you don't get to work. You have to pay for your GPS monitoring if you have one. You have to pay for your batterers intervention program. You have to pay for Crime Stoppers. I mean, right? They're punishing already indigent people with more money. And then when they don't pay, they're back in court. And then the judge is like, well, I'll just extend you. How does that happen?
Have you ever tried to challenge those requirements under Bearden or some Supreme Court case law?
I have. And I've seen it, now that I have another attorney, I can do more of that. I'm hoping to. It's been nice. For a long time, it was just me and my investigator, so fighting systemic issues can be very difficult. At the same time, my office flooded, we had black mold. I mean, I was dealing with things that were not case related as chief, just ridiculous. So now that I have another lawyer, I'm hoping there's some things that I've seen where, but it's also authorized by the court. On a felony, you can do upwards of, I think, 120 hours community service. That's a lot of time. That's, and then there's no alcohol at all, even if it's not an alcoholic or an alcohol offense, which for me, I'm like, what? I have my glass of wine every now and then, right? So you're really, sometimes I feel like probation, you're setting them up to fail. That's how I feel with some of my clients, especially if there's mental illnesses, or they don't have the family support that they need. And if you don't make an appointment, and you walked and you showed up late, well, probation's gonna say, too bad, you missed your appointment. And use that strike against you. So that's what I changed. Money, for sure.
So, I thought, maybe I missed this at the beginning, are you under Trala?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
Trala just like expanded.
I'm part of
into
the Public
Lavaca?
Defender Division. Yes, so
Okay.
we opened Lavaca last October. So we just had our year in March.
That's awesome.
And I've been down in Beeville for about 4 years, but I also work closely with the attorneys. We have one in Star, one in Willacy,
Yeah.
and we're looking at Victoria. They turned us down this year, but I'm hearing rumors that they might want us, hopefully, fingers crossed, because we're already working some of the jurisdictions around Victoria. We do have a civil office there as well, so it makes sense to be part of that full jurisdiction. But yeah, we're always looking to expand.
What was it like going into a new county with the private defense attorneys there?
Not very fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I only had one problem in this new county. There's really not many private lawyers there.
Yeah.
They're all coming from other places, Houston, San Antonio, wherever. But one lawyer looked me in the eye when I was asking for some advice and said, so you're taking food out of my mouth and putting it into yours. I was like, I guess so.
Yeah.
But I don't see it, I was like, I don't see it that way. Because we had been going to another county, my office had just grabbed another county that he was in as well. And for me, it's, if you're using court appointments to supplement your income, you're not a very good private defense lawyer. I mean, I can't do private defense, I don't wanna hustle, I don't wanna act, right? And, but sorry, I'm just being honest, I don't wanna hustle. But what we try to do is open our doors to the private bar as well. So in Beeville, if a defense attorney was coming in from San Antonio or Corpus or Houston and they needed, it's an all-day thing, come to the office, use our Wi-Fi, use our resources, use our conference room, let's work together. At the end of the day, we're all fighting the same fight. And it's important to me that's like when I get a conflict, that I know that that other person who I had to conflict down on is also getting a good lawyer. Because that person could have been mine, but for whatever reason, I had to say no. Like, why did I pick one over the other? I want to make sure that the defense bar, no matter what, is strong. So I'm trying to build, a lot of people are in the smaller counties, I think, more appreciative. I know the bigger counties, as I'm hearing, especially in Travis County, if they're part of that, it's been more difficult, but there's also gonna be 3 different programs within Austin. You have your MAC, your Managed Assigned Counsel, you have just your wheel, or what I call the wheel, and then a public defender's office. But I think all 3 can coexist, and especially if you remember that you're doing it for the people that you're going to court for. That we all have the same fight, we all have the same struggles, and I think that we could become really powerful if we all start working together more and don't just see it as us stealing money. Because again, I'm always like, the county doesn't pay me. The Trolla, first of all, I'm a Trolla employee. And second of all, those court costs or the attorney's fees, they don't ever come back to me.
Right.
They go to the county. So. Yeah, no, please.
I feel like you sort of addressed this when Karen asked about training, but we have a lot of like public defense students who end up leaving the state. I think because I guess because of the training and like maybe like this is the pretty public defense office. And especially like coming from New Hampshire, I mean we had someone last year who's working in New Hampshire now who's
It's an amazing public
not
defender
from there.
officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you was it more of a personal decision for you, or like how can we get more public defenders to stay in Texas? And, like,
That's what I'm working on. Great question. So again, I'm part of TCDLA.
yeah.
Absolutely, I encourage to sign up. The relationship with TCDLA and public defense for many, many years was that you're taking food out of my mouth. The new executive director and I and a lot of other people are working really hard to bridge that gap. And so what I'm trying to do, I'm the head of the public defender committee there. I'm active with Texas Indigent Defense Commission. I'm we just started a program, by we, I mean them, with Harris County, TCDLA, and TIDC. And what we're doing is 25 people, young lawyers, can, as long as they're a public defender or taking court appointments, can apply, and they get set to Gideon's Promise for free. And I'm a mentor in that program. That's something. I think it's, one, there's not very many public defender jobs to begin with.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. All right, like as big as Texas is, there's not enough. But 2, I think just helping each other build that community more, which has been very difficult. I've been trying for a while. I'm going to keep trying, keep working at it. But I've noticed that every public defender office is different too, just like the state of Texas, right? Dallas PD does not function the same way as El Paso, which is like another state, right? And then Harris County and San Antonio, for example, I didn't know for a long time, has a mental health public defender. Travis County has a mental health public defender. So there's these little hidden gems that we're also not talking about. Far West Texas just opened an office. That's Alpine, Marfa. I think TIDC will help too. They're always looking, but it's also educating counties. Hey, you guys can have a public defender office, and TIDC will fund 2/3 of it now.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll help people stay as well, is if we also do our part and educate the counties to get a public defender office. There'll also be more jobs. But I think that they'll learn too, public defense in general is just not pretty. It's just not pretty. It's really hard work. We were just talking about gallows humor. I mean, it's hard work. It's exhausting work, but it's really rewarding. For me, I don't see myself in my 5-year plan doing anything but public defense. And if I really want to think 10 years, which is scary, I don't want to think about 10 years, I see myself doing public defense.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was about to ask you what your sort of your forward-looking plans.
Just to get through court this week. I have court Wednesday and Thursday. I would like to see my office grow. There's some surrounding counties that I'm hoping to go speak to, and that way I can get more positions and more lawyers and more funding. I just have to go